Welcome to the basement.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Basement Boys podcast. I am Chris Gray. That is Eric Mincer. That is Devin Mitchell. Something like that. One of those.
We're
figure
everywhere.
it out.
I respond to Eric or Devin.
We also respond to Derek.
This is true.
All right, so let's just jump into it as normal. Jump into football like we always do. NFL playoffs. Packers beat the Rams. No real shock from anybody. Just the kind of years they were having. And how do we feel about it?
I mean, you said it best. No real shock. Aaron Rodgers is playing great. Like, that boy is playing with a chip on his shoulder, and I don't want to be on the other side of him.
Yeah, I wouldn't blame you for that.
Yeah, the NFC is going straight through Lambeau, as we all thought. It's going to come down to Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers, which we'll get into it in a little bit.
But yeah, Aaron was Aaron, and you knew giving him the number 1 seed was not a great idea. Wisconsin is not a great place weather-wise, so for the teams that might be a problem with, they can have problems. It's just a cold place, you know. But yeah, Aaron Rodgers is just a monster. He really is. And the fact that he's only a year younger than Ben still really sticks out to me.
More so than Aaron Rodgers, I was really impressed with the Packers' rush game, because as a team, they averaged over 5 yards a carry. They had 188 yards as a unit between Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams, and A.J. Dillon. And this is against the Rams, who have one of the best defenses in the league, but Aaron Donald's not 100%. And you could see that clearly made a difference.
Well, not only that, but I was going to say, Donald only played, 56% of the snaps?
Exactly.
Well, he was working through torn rib cartilage, so every breath, every move for that man. Yeah.
You don't need
so
ribs.
every breath for that man must have hurt, let alone fighting other 300-pound men.
Especially in the frigid cold of Green Bay. Yeah, that Aaron Donald is a tough man.
Yeah, and you saw he left everything on the field. You saw how emotional he was after the loss.
Mm-hmm.
Even coming in so banged up, he really expected to get that win.
You know what really surprised me, though, is jumping off Eric's point about the rushing game, was they didn't rely on just Aaron Jones. They used all their backs, which I'm kind of happy to see.
Yeah, Jamal Williams had a great game, 65 yards.
Yeah, I mean, they're always going to lean on Aaron Jones. That's just, he's Aaron Jones. Why would you not?
Right.
But trying to save him later in the year a little more, especially going into some bigger games, I think it was a great decision to throw him in a little bit more of a committee. But what are you going to say?
I was going to say I agree, and I think on the other side, you kind of saw the opposite, where for the Rams, you had Goff, who's obviously not 100% coming off the surgery. You had Cam Akers, who's been playing great, but Malcolm Brown didn't get a single carry, and Darrell Henderson Jr. didn't suit up because he was injured. And I think not having the committee that the Rams are used to running made a big difference.
I think it was really the only option they had, leaning on Cam Akers, with Goff being as hurt as he was. And I'm not sure McVay necessarily trusts Goff. I've been hearing some rumblings of some heat steaming up between those two, and just if he already didn't trust Goff coming off thumb surgery, I would believe he would have absolutely no trust in him. And then, it's a playoff game. It's against the number 1 seed, probably the strongest team that they're going to face. I would see why they would try to lay it all out with Cam Akers to get the win.
Goff didn't play poorly. I mean, he didn't play great, but given that he, again, broken thumb, when you're a team that relies on the defense, he played well enough given the circumstances. If I'm the Rams, I don't come off this loss, very upset. Obviously, you want the year to go forward. You want to play for the NFC Championship, but you had a banged up quarterback. You had Aaron Donald, who's like the best defensive player in the league, injured. Because of that, they didn't sack Rodgers once. The Packers controlled possession. They had 36 minutes of possession to 24 for the Rams. Like, I don't know. It's one of those things where, as good as the Rams were, I don't think there is any path for them to win this game.
Especially not where they were. Just everyone on that team was banged up. Again, you've been hearing a little bit about some heat between McVay and Goff. You don't know, like, how far along that would be if that even is true. So given the circumstances going on, I think they put up the best fight they could have. And just Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams is just a monster duo that is going to be a problem because he went off even against Jalen Ramsey, which no one has this year.
No.
Right.
I mean, Devontae Adams, what's he, like, the number one best receiver?
He has to be at this point.
And Jalen Ramsey is like, sorry?
I would absolutely put him at number one. At this point, I mean, Jalen Ramsey, we saw him shut down everyone he went against, or pretty much everyone. Devontae Adams caught 9 out of 10 passes his way and had the touchdown.
Devontae Adams made him look like a child. Like, he was putting him on skates all night, which you've never seen from Jalen Ramsey.
Devontae Adams is something else. Like, the fact that, like, what he did against Ramsey, it's, like you said, it's, no one saw it this whole season. It's unreal, and he made, like, the best corner look childish.
Like, actually childish. Like I said, he was on skates.
Yeah.
You saw some of the moves he was pulling against him, and just how hard Jalen was biting, because they really dialed in on this rivalry this week.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Jalen even knew how to handle it.
No, you saw that the double motion before the Devontae's touchdown, where
That
he
was the
starts on
exact
the
play I was talking about.
All right, so yeah, where all of a sudden, Ramsey's like 10 yards away, and it's just like, what the fuck? Jumping up and down, screaming like he's having a tantrum. And defense is like, dude, we don't know, man. We don't know.
Usually, when you see somebody like that with that kind of speed, it's usually like a shifty slot receiver where you see them breaking ankles. Devontae Adams has the size as well. Like, if you need him in the red zone, he's big enough to go up and over guys, but he also has those plays where, like, you don't even see the defender in the screen because Devontae just shook him so hard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Incredible.
but I would literally be willing to put it out there to say that Devontae Adams might be the best route runner of all time. Just the movements he was making to just break away from every defender. Fuck, man, it was beautiful.
It's like watching Randy Moss.
I would put him higher than Randy Moss. Some of the things I saw that game were wild. Like I said, he might be the best of all time.
Is it hot in here, or is it just Chris takes?
Straight route running. I'm not saying the entire package. I'm saying straight route running.
Yeah, I mean, what he's done has been incredible. It's going to be fun to see next week. But we are going to talk about next week's game, so I just want to touch up on the Rams really quick. Like, what do you think this team's going to look like going forward? They just lost their defensive coordinator. I'm blanking on his name right now, but
I think it's
left.
Brendan Staley.
Yes, exactly. Thank you, Devin. He's going to coach the Chargers. This defense was great, but is that going to make a difference?
I think a lot hangs in the balance of what if these rumors we're hearing about Goff and McVay are true. I think if this is become something super contentious, maybe not to the Deshaun Watson level, because I haven't heard anything like that crazy about it, but if you can't get the coach and the quarterback in lockstep, someone's gonna have to die on that hill eventually.
Yeah, I think the Rams are going to look completely different next year. I know they have to be strapped for cash after paying Cup, Woods, Goff, and if it's true, like the rumors say that McVay and Goff are in lockstep, I wouldn't be surprised if they try to cut bait with Goff and get a younger quarterback in the draft, or maybe they try to make a play for Deshaun Watson.
That would be special.
I don't think that would help their cap space. Yeah, I don't think that'll help with their cap space situation.
Oh, right. I forgot that Deshaun just got paid. My mistake.
But I think the Rams are actually okay with salary cap, mostly because they cut ties with Gurley last year and Brandon Cooks, and they chose to go with the rookie running backs.
Mhm.
So I don't think they're as fucked for cap space as we thought. They're 27th. They're actually negative 21 million in terms of cap space, which
Sick.
still isn't as bad as the Saints, who we'll get to in a minute, because the Saints are really, really, really fucking cap space.
Yeah, but if Drew Brees retires, that flips the script, and I think they can get Jameis again real cheap. But we'll get into that.
We'll get into that. All right, so moving on to the next game on Saturday night, the Buffalo Bills hosted the Baltimore Ravens in front of 7,000, approximately, like 6,700 diehard Bills Mafia fans. Chris, have you selected what kind of table you want to go through?
Chill out, all right? Everybody fucking calm down. I know I picked them even in my bracket, but still, all right?
Yeah, good luck telling
They
Bills
haven't
Mafia
got
to calm
there
down.
yet. They haven't got there yet.
Yo, but Bills Mafia, I'm surprised they're even showing up to work like this week and everything. Like,
Bro, they're throwing kids through tables. I've seen at least 3 videos of kids getting thrown through tables.
that was amazing.
Adorable.
I mean, like Eric said, you gotta teach them young.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
So, the Bills Mafia, shout out, you guys are probably going absolute crazy. I want to just put a quick shout out to all my friends who I went to Buffalo with. If you're still in Buffalo, please send me all the footage, all of the tailgates, all the partying. Just let me know. Like, give it to me on social media, give it to me in text, and I'll just shout you out, put it out there for the world to see, because you guys have to be ecstatic. This team looks just about as good as any team in football.
Yeah. They just
Like, against the Colts, it was the offense that was just putting up points. And then we saw on Saturday against the Ravens, this incredible offense. They just shut them down. 3 points for the Ravens.
I love in a post game interview with Jackson after he made the interception, how he was just like, yeah, I thought about going down, and then I just looked up and saw nothing but green.
Go with your instincts.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah, the Bills are definitely a force to be reckoned with. It could be a problem if Mahomes doesn't come back, even though at this point it looks like he's going to, but we'll get into that when we get to that game. It was weird how like eerily similar the Lamar knockout was to the Mahomes knockout though. Like
Right.
closer to the end of the game, around I believe they were both in the end zone. Like I don't know, it seemed like deja vu, but Lamar was not in a good spot after that hit.
No, clearly not. And like the NFL, it's got to be a nightmare scenario where you look and you see Lamar and Mahomes, the last 2 MVPs, clearly faces of the franchise, faces on Madden and all the commercial superstars. Both of them get concussed in the same weekend. It's just like, as much as we love football, there's always going to be that inherent danger of concussions and serious side effects of it that they're just not going to be able to escape.
Well, news is coming out now that it might not be a concussion with Pat Mahomes. We'll get to that when we get there. But yeah, just Lamar Jackson.
The NFL saying that's not a concussion is kind of just like the NFL would be like, yeah, JFK, just, get back in the parade. It's fine.
See, no, just because, like, okay, if we're gonna get into this now, let's get into it. What they were talking about, has happened before. It happened to Sidney Crosby actually a few years ago, where this you can get, it's called like a spinal concussion, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So you get he had swelling in 2 vertebrae. I forget exactly which ones, but because they were kind of like constricting on the spinal column a little bit, it causes similar to concussion like symptoms, like like foggy memory, stuff like that. But I guess that's what they were thinking. But also apparently that night Mahomes completely passed the protocols. So things are still up in the air with that. We don't know quite yet.
Question.
Yeah.
Sorry. The spinal concussion with swollen vertebrae, to me that sounds a lot worse. Like, that sounds really bad. That sounds like he probably shouldn't play. Is that not correct?
If I remember correctly, I think that was when Crosby missed like half the season, and they just kept saying it was like concussion-like symptoms.
Yeah, but
Okay.
apparently he got screwed with that. Apparently it's not as big of a deal as it sounds.
Oh, really?
But again, this is me going from like stuff I've been hearing, like people talk about around the league. I'm not hearing this exactly from doctors, but from what I've been hearing, it's much more manageable than having to go through the whole concussion protocol if it was an actual concussion.
Mm-hmm.
Right. We work at a
And
hospital, but we are not doctors.
No.
Yeah. And it could be like a shorter term thing. Like it could be, I don't know, in Crosby's case it might have been longer that like it was swollen, but for Pat, you don't know how it's just any type of swelling can cause these types of things. It could just be like a bump that swelled up for a little bit and then went back down.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know exact details on that. But from what I'm hearing, if this is the case, there's a solid chance he does play on Sunday.
Do we
Alright.
think that there is like a chance that he also may have had like also a slight concussion as well, or is it just like a definitive?
Well, apparently he passed all the concussion protocol that night. So I don't know, like that's what I'm saying. I don't know quite like exactly how bad this swelling was, if it was even this like concussion, like spinal concussion, whatever.
Because I was going to say that I've seen other athletes like get hit past the protocol. Sorry. And then like a day or two later, they're developing concussion-like symptoms and they're back into protocol again.
Yeah, it like this all can definitely happen. He's going to keep going through like the protocol requirements throughout the week. But from what I've heard from like analysts and stuff like that, if this is the case, he has a much higher chance of playing than if it were an actual concussion. It's easier to get through.
Okay.
Well, that's really big news because according to like all of the stat casts, the Chiefs have a 61% chance of winning with Mahomes and only a 30% chance with Henne. I wouldn't even put it that high with Henne, but let's finish up on the Bills-Ravens. Kind of got sidetracked there. Sorry about that one.
No, that was
just wanna
medical
say-
talk. Let's do
That
that
was-
medical.
See that concussions. I just want to say Lamar. The whole thing with Lamar was that he hadn't thrown a red zone interception. Not only did he throw a costly interception, that interception, like you said, became a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think this was Lamar's best game, but I don't want to put it all on Lamar because the rush game did not look the same as it normally does. Could be Buffalo, cold winter, but they just need so much help with the receivers. Like Mark Andrews had 4 catches for 28 yards, but he was targeted 11 times.
Right.
And I'm not saying it's all on Mark Andrews, but like
He had
Andrews
some pretty
and-
big drops in that game.
it's Marquise Brown is great if he gets the ball in open space, but Marquise Brown is not a number one. And we've been saying it all season pretty much, is that you look at the other side and the Bills went out and got Stephon Diggs, who had 8 catches, 100 yards and a touchdown. Like Diggs has been the best receiver, one of the best receivers in football, probably the best in the AFC. And the Ravens just need that guy for Lamar to be able to connect with.
I'm not even super willing to say that Marquise isn't a number one. I'm not saying like he's a stone cold lock in number one, but I think without any extra help, they know who to key in on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, who's the next biggest back on that, or the biggest wide receiver on that team? Fucking Dez Bryant? Like,
Yeah.
No, you're
like when you know who to key in on, you can take away that weapon.
I was going
If
to
they
say.
if they have other options, I think Marquise Brown would be playing a lot better.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like Marquise Brown is more of a number 2, and kind of like what's going on in Pittsburgh when Juju was the now focal point and he had the down year. Like you said, everyone knows the key in on him, then they're going to make you beat them with someone else.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they
And-
just need to add a receiver or another threat to that offense that opens the field. Also, fun fact: Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins had the exact same stat line of 10 carries for 42 yards.
That is interesting,
It's
actually.
crazy.
The Bills also won this game with only 32 rushing yards.
Well, I think they just had Devin Singletary healthy.
Yeah, I think everyone else was hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Anyone else of consequence, anyway.
right. So they were just going to be like, all right, well, We got Stephon Diggs. You got Cole Beasley. Josh Allen, yo, air it out.
Yeah, but this game was, I would say this game was all on the defense because the Ravens had 73 plays to the Bills' 55. The Ravens outgained the Bills by 120 yards. Bills only had 220 yards of offense.
Mm-hmm.
17-3. Like, that was just a great team win for the Bills. And I think the way you saw the offense, like I said, the offense took care of the Colts, the defense took care of the Ravens. They put it all together. Even if Mahomes plays, Chris is going through a table.
No, yeah, they definitely have a shot. Hey, I even picked the Bills in my own bracket, so I'm picking against myself. And it very much might happen, but I'm a man of my word and I'm going to do it. But let's calm down. We still got another game to play. We'll figure it out when we get there.
All right, for the Ravens moving forward, they released Mark Ingram. They're going to have, I think this year is the year that they're going to be okay, but after this season, like this coming season, 2021, is going to be Lamar's 4th year, which means they're going to have to pick up the option, which means he's going to get paid. That's where they're going to start to run into salary cap issues. Honestly, I think next year is going to be their all-in year. They're just going to go out and either trade or try to sign like Galladay or Allen Robinson, try to bring in a playmaker receiver. And 2021 is going to be like boom or bust for the Ravens.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I also feel like if they don't take a step forward, that coaching situation might be a little bit of a hot seat. Because I feel like I understand they're doing great every year, but
Look, doing great doesn't win you championships.
yeah, if they keep getting knocked out at the same point every year, I've seen teams move on for less.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when you have someone like Lamar, who's a running quarterback, which probably lowers his viability window a little bit. You got to make some moves.
Do we think this game's going to have a big impact on Lamar's legacy? How we evaluate him?
Nah, I don't think. It's like one game. I feel like you're going to get a lot of overreaction on Mondays from the casual fans, but I feel like the real hardcore fans that are following the game and are being like, oh yeah, they'll realize it's just one bad game. This won't define his whole legacy.
Right, but he's 1-3 in the playoffs now.
Yeah, but you know what? If he wins, let's just say next season they win the Super Bowl, that 1-3 record, no one's going to care.
Well, of course.
And we also have to remember
1-3 if he wins the Super Bowl.
You also have to remember, this is only his 3rd season in the league. We're still very early on in this man's career.
Very true, very true. I think a lot of it boils down to
Peyton Manning's
the whole...
first 2 years, he was 2-14?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Led the league in interceptions.
Right. I mean, Lamar hasn't been, bad. The question becomes about his ability in the postseason, and I think that all just comes down to when he was in the Combine, Bill Polian said he's a receiver. And I think just by saying that, it plants the thought in everyone's brain of, is he a quarterback? Is he really a receiver? Is he really a running back? Mm-hmm. I don't think he's a bad passer, just like we've been saying. Doesn't have the best options to throw to.
Right. And he just uses his talent. If you're a great runner and you can also throw the ball and you got no one open, fuck, let me run the ball 5 yards, make a manageable second down play.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they don't really have the option to not run this RPO style with just the weapons they have. So it's just, you do what works, you know what I mean? You do what you're equipped for.
Mm-hmm.
And Chris, to add on to your point, I don't know if Harbaugh himself would be on the coaching carousel soon because, he did win a Super Bowl for them. But I absolutely think there's going to be a change of offensive coordinator and some assistants there because, this team's been so dominant in the regular season, postseason, can't put it together. But this was an unusual season, especially for the Ravens.
Well, they did lose.
But you also...
Sorry, I was going to say they did lose their defensive coordinator to Michigan, actually.
Oh, already?
Yeah.
That's true. And I will also say, when you move into the playoffs, you're facing the best teams in the league. It's easier to do better in the regular season because you're getting a mishmash of the bad teams, the mediocre teams, the good teams. So when you get there, Lamar Jackson looks great against Jacksonville, or looks great against the Jets, or just, throwing names out there.
Right.
But just like all the other quarterbacks, they look like killers in the regular season, and then it comes back down to earth a little bit in the playoffs because you're facing the other teams that have been looking like killers all year.
I mean, look at the Steelers. They went 11-0. Everyone thought, oh man, they're the favorites. And yet they were playing some weak-ass teams, my Giants included in that. And once they played a real team, shit, they stumbled, they tumbled, they rumbled, and they eventually lost to the Browns.
And they were down 28 points in 7 minutes.
Right.
Speaking of the Browns, I mean, let's dive into that game because the Browns went into Kansas City, took on the defending champs, hung in there. It was 22-17. Obviously, what happened with Mahomes shifted the entire game because that's the best player in football leaving. But the Browns, to their credit, they played a hell of a game. Look at their season. They got to be happy. They got to just be proud of what they've done. I mean, Baker Mayfield stepped into his own, showed he's a real number one. Myles Garrett's absolutely lived up to the hype. And that running game is incredible.
And yeah, if they didn't have that stupid fumble touchback rule, whatever bullshit, they would have won that game. Because that would have been a touchdown.
Yep.
Yeah, that's such an upsetting rule because, I mean, that play specifically because they were able to look at the replay and see that the guy lowered his crown and that should have been a penalty. And as much as the NFL likes to talk about player safety, oh, well, we can't review that. We can't put a flag in retroactively. And then you don't care about player safety.
Right. Nah, but jumping off Eric's point, though, the Browns should be proud. First time you're in the playoffs since, what was it? 2007, I think. First time you win a playoff game since 94. Future's looking bright. Baker's happy he doesn't have to learn a brand new offense.
That's
future's
crazy.
bright for the Browns.
They have not won a playoff game since Eric was alive.
I know.
Yes, that's literally the first time in my life the Browns. And what's crazy is that we were this close to getting a Browns-Bills AFC championship. Cleveland and Buffalo, the two best cities in America. And, no one would have expected that.
That would have... I think the whole world would have imploded if that had happened.
Yeah, but I would have been so here for it.
Oh, we all
It would
would
have
have.
been a grand old time.
Oh my goodness, all the tables would have been so excited.
I mean, I don't know about excited. Probably more scared, but
Tables would be
you know.
scared. This was a good game for them. I mean, you got Kevin Stefanski back on the sideline. Obviously made a difference. I think he's got to be coach of the year at this point. Like I said, McDermott still in the conversation, but Stefanski probably is going to take it.
Yeah, I could see it.
Yeah.
I would still put Ron Rivera there just because of what he had to deal with all year, but
That's fair.
I can't knock this Stefanski idea. Let's put it that way.
Right. I think, like we've talked about, the big question going forward is, did they trade Odell?
I mean, it all depends on what Odell wants is willing to have his role be. Because if they keep feeding him, you can see that just wasn't the way to go.
Right. Also, I think it also depends on how he does after when he comes back next season. If he's healthy, if he's not healthy. Because what did he do? He tore his ACL, right?
I believe so.
So, let's just say, he's not the Odell of the past. Doesn't have hip breakaway speed.
I think he's like $15 million on the cap, something like that, like in that range.
Yeah, it might be a little hard to trade him. They might have to eat the contract.
Yeah, but I don't know what his guarantees are.
Okay.
So, I think his contract is somewhere around 14, 15-ish.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, it's definitely going to be hard to trade him coming off, this is the ACL injury, but he also, being Odell.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is I don't know what his cap hit would be if they just straight cut him.
Right. I don't think they'd straight cut him. I think they know he's Odell. They know he's a playmaker. They know a lot of teams would still have interest in him, so I think they're going to try to see what they can get, maybe in draft capital, maybe in the secondary. I think there's a trade market for him if they want to part with him.
Oh, there's definitely a trade market. It's called Baltimore. They could use a receiver.
Well, like I said, it all depends on how he heals up from the knee injury, though.
Oh,
Sure.
they would not trade with their rivals. That would be something.
True.
Sure. But I mean, we have seen some crazy shit.
Hey, man, the Browns is the Browns, all right?
I'll put it like this: if the Browns trade Odell to the Ravens this offseason, I will get a tattoo of Odell Beckham in a Ravens uniform across my chest.
I really hope that happens now.
I'm gonna die on that hill. I just don't. It's not gonna happen.
Yo, Katie's not gonna let you do that.
I'm gonna clip this clip. I'm gonna put it on every social media we have, and just make sure everyone shames Eric into doing it.
Dude, if the Cleveland Browns trade to their bitter rivals, the Baltimore Ravens, and they trade Odell Beckham Jr., I will gladly I'll get Odell Beckham in a Ravens uniform getting pooped on my chest.
Hey.
Okay.
Hey. The Browns is the Browns, all right? But also, the Ravens is the Browns, all right?
So in reality,
I pray
they're trading.
happens.
They're trading to themselves, so it's fine then.
Yeah.
Something like that. Before we leave this game, we just gotta all talk about how Andy Reid has the biggest balls in the history of the world.
Just hanging.
35-year-old Chad Henne, backup quarterback in there. 3rd and 14, Henne just takes off. He just took it on his back. He ran for the first down, dove head first, showed he has the balls, and then 4th down. Some coaches, Stefanski punted on 4th down. A lot of coaches would punt on 4th down. Andy Reid says, "Fuck it, we got Bieniemy calling the plays. We got Tyreek Hill." Tyreek Hill makes the catch, sits down, stays in bounds. Andy Reid knew his players, he knew his personnel, he trusted them, and they're a win away from the Super Bowl.
But where else did we expect the Chiefs to be than a win away from the Super Bowl?
Right.
Right, but Mahomes goes out, and you have Chad Henne, and you're still saying, yeah, pass it on 4th down.
I mean, at that point, what are your options, I guess?
I was going to say, Andy Reid, I think it was in his post-game press conference, he comes out and someone asked him, when did 4th down become a passing down? And he goes, I went to BYU. Every down was a passing down.
True.
He's not wrong. That's the strategy. I mean, it worked out really well for them.
And he has a hatred for punters. He refuses to let them see the field at any point in any game.
I don't even know if they have a punter in Kansas City.
I think it's Dustin Colquitt.
Yeah, I think so.
Must
And
be
he's actually a really good punter.
Yeah.
All right, let's dive into the last game of the weekend before we preview next week's games, because we didn't get too in-depth into the teams that actually won the games. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers went into the Superdome and ended Drew Brees' career. The Bucs won it 30-20. Honestly, I got to say, Brady didn't come out and play great. He just played a lot better than Drew Brees. Brees with 3 interceptions, and you could see, mentally, he was able to make the right decisions. Just physically, he couldn't get the ball there fast enough. He couldn't throw it deep. He went out.
I don't think people understand how much of a throwing motion and how much getting power out of you, it comes from your midsection, comes from your core. So just dealing with all he's had to deal with throughout the year, breaking 97.5 ribs and whatever, it was going to take a toll at some point.
Yeah, and being that he's been in the league 20 years, he's 40 years old, it's going to wear down at some point. We saw it with Peyton Manning. Even when they won the Super Bowl, Peyton's last game, he didn't really do shit.
It was all defense that game.
He just kind of managed the game.
Yeah, and we're seeing it a little bit with Big Ben, where he can still throw the fireball, but Big Ben doesn't have any ability to move. Sometimes quarterbacks, it's just what happens after years and years of taking hits.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're Tom Brady, you don't get to 40 and get to play for free.
No, it's all that avocado ice cream he's been eating. That's his secret.
Come on, Drew.
Brady played well. He had the deep ball going for him. It also helps that he has Godwin, Antonio Brown, Mike Evans. Scotty Miller, your boy, made the big play.
I'm telling you, Don't sleep on Scotty Miller.
Scotty doesn't know.
Yeah, but it's true. Like, not only are they both older, Brady's in a better situation with way more weapons. Michael Thomas wasn't even 100%. He was playing through like a torn labrum and something else in his shoulder or something else in his ankle or something. Like,
And he got completely shut down.
well, that's the reason. He was banged up everywhere he could be.
Yeah, and Todd Bowles actually did a good job game planning for that, where they said, like, we know Breeze can't throw it deep. We're not going to let Michael Thomas, who's banged up, get the slant. He is a slant boy. They were limiting Kamara. I think Todd Bowles, and I hate to say it because he was shit for the Jets, Todd Bowles had an amazing game.
Side note, I feel like Todd Bowles, great defensive coach, not a great head coach.
Yeah, I agree, but I also kind of disagree that he was shit for the Jets. He was in a lot of the McCagnon era, so that hurts him a little bit. I mean, they fucking drafted Christian Hackenberg in the second round. Like,
oh god, I forgot about that.
He's the
But
guy
yeah,
that's basically Tom Brady, right?
Oh yeah. See how that worked out for them in the AAF, but yeah. So I wouldn't say he was terrible for the Jets. I think he was put into a bad situation, and he was terrible at clock management, which I think was a big part of it. But I don't think he was the worst head coach. But I think he shines as a defensive coordinator.
Yeah, and you saw that. We saw that on Sunday. I mean, Devin White, we talked about him before in the show, like, him playing made such a difference. He had 10 tackles. He had the interception that he returned to the 10-yard line. He set them up for an easy touchdown. Fumble recovery. When you combine him with Ndamukong Suh, JPP still playing well, that defense anchored by Levante David, they're going to be really good, the Bucs. Like, I don't know how much Tom Brady's going to have left in his tank after this season, but they're going to be really good. What I found interesting, though, between you have Brady, you have Breeze, two of the all-time greats, who had the best throw of the game?
Jameis Winston.
Jameis Winston in the revenge game against Tampa comes in on the trickery 56-yard bomb to Traquan Smith. That was incredible. That just made me happy. Sorry.
Do you think he's gonna be the head quarterback, like the starting quarterback for the Saints next year, or do you think they go in a different direction?
I feel like they're gonna go with Taysom Hill because they gave him the money. But I also saw Breeze say to Jameis, "It's your team now," and I think regardless, that one play that Jameis had this weekend is going to land him a contract somewhere.
Yeah, that was big for him because he came through in a big moment, like laid it on a dime. No one's ever said that Jameis doesn't have the talent.
No.
It's just whether he can bring the most out of that talent with his decision making.
I was going to say, I'm not sure if he comes back because that one play that everyone saw that's going to get him a contract, he's going to try to get some money. I'm not sure if the Saints have enough money to pay him what he wants.
I mean, without Drew Brees there, though.
Right.
True.
Because I'm looking at it now, and the Saints are currently dead last in cap space with negative $99 million. But like you said, Drew Brees retiring, a lot of that comes off. I'm not sure exactly the math behind it. We'll get our accounting team on it. But Jameis could be the future, or it could be Taysom Hill. And I think, honestly, either way, the Saints are in good hands. They have really good defense. Signed Kamara long term. You have Michael Thomas, one of the best offensive lines in football.
I think if they get another receiver, that would help them push them over the edge.
Yeah, I could agree with that because that's the thing. That whole offense, the whole passing game leads through Michael Thomas. So when he wasn't 100%, it was hard to really get things going.
Right. I think that shows that he was more valuable this season than Drew Brees was, because when Brees was out, Hill played well, and when Michael Thomas was out, sure, Emmanuel Sanders played well, but he's not Emmanuel Sanders of 5 years ago, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
These are two different things we're talking about.
I think everyone knew, though, that Michael Thomas was MVP of that team. Like, because even last year when Drew Brees went out and Teddy Bridgewater stepped in for those 5 games, like, Teddy did work.
Yeah. And Teddy landed a starting job elsewhere in the division.
Revenge game.
Oh, yeah.
Revenge game. All right. Dive ahead to next week.
Yep, let's do it.
Let's take a look.
We got the Tampa Brady, the Buccaneers heading to Green Bay, where you're going to see two legendary quarterbacks, former MVPs, Super Bowl winners. They're going to talk about it nonstop. Aaron Rodgers versus Tom Brady. I think this is going to be like the game of the year. I think this is probably the best matchup we could have asked for.
Yeah, I agree. I'm excited for this game. Like, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to sleep. I'm that excited. Like, two future Hall of Famers. Whew.
I think this is a fun game, but I'm way more excited for Bills Chiefs. But we'll get to that game later. But I don't know. Like, I think it's great that you got the Brady Rodgers matchup again. But I think Green Bay is just a better team.
Remember, though, these teams met week 6, and the Bucs kicked the shit out of them. It was 38-10. It wasn't even like it was a close game, and the Bucs pulled it out. It was 38-10. Aaron Jones had only 15 yards on 10 carries, which is like absurdly bad for him. And the Buccaneers have been playing really well on the road. So I don't necessarily think the cold weather, especially with Tom Brady, who had all of his success in New England, I don't think the weather's going to get to him as much. It's also going to be a great game for receivers because you like we were just praising Devontae Adams. This is a Tampa Bay defense that just kept Michael Thomas without a catch.
I was going to say that Tom Brady, he'll do fine in cold weather. I'm not sure about the other boys because, they've been playing in Tampa Bay for X number of years, and they don't know that much about the cold weather. But, I'm sorry. Like, I'm just jump off Chris' point of what game you're more excited for. Like, I'm more excited for this one just because this might be the last time we're seeing two GOATs right now play each other. Whereas Josh Allen and Pat Mahomes, we could get that next year, the year after that, and so forth and so forth. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'm not saying I'm not excited for this game at all. I just, out of the two games, I think the Bills-Chiefs game will be a more exciting game. Just a couple points I want to make to Eric's point. I don't think you're going to do that to Aaron Jones 2 games. Like, you got the one. They're not going to stop him that much. He's Aaron Jones. Second, this was also in the beginning of the year when the Bucs, for the first, 6 to 8 weeks, we were talking about this Tampa Bay defense like they were the second coming of the 85 Bears. Like, we were, and they've slowed down from that a little bit since then. Who knows if they're banged up? Who knows if it's injuries? They're also playing with a little bit of a banged up Mike Evans, a little bit of a banged up Chris Godwin. Like, I think there are a lot more different factors going on this much later in the year than in the beginning, and I just think the Packers are a better all-around overall team.
Yeah, to add to your point and go against my own point is that the Bucs also played the Saints in Tampa, and the Saints kicked the shit out of the Bucs, and then the Bucs just went in and beat them. So you're right, the Bucs are a different team. Antonio Brown was not on the team when they met.
Yeah, but he's also banged up. He wasn't on the field for the whole, basically, second half last week. I know. I had him in DFS.
Ooh, heartbreaker. Yeah, I kind of slept through that game. I slept through all the games.
Yeah, he didn't really play. He might be banged up too. That's all three of your guys dealing with something at the very least, even if he does end up coming back. Like,
yeah, I
don't know how great of a setup this is for them going into this game, especially against the Packers.
Yeah, their leading receiver in terms of receptions was Leonard Fournette, playoff Lenny with 5.
He's been playing great in the playoffs, though. I will give that to them. But
He
Ronald
has.
Jones has also been pretty banged up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he still managed 60 yards.
No, I know, but they're not getting their full potential out of him. That's why they're leaning on Fournette a little more.
Right.
And Gronk didn't do much either. Even though that one catch in that one drop he had in the touchdown was not his fault.
No, but still, Gronk, being that he took a year off, might not be in the best shape, might not be ready for this. What's going to be their 19th game of the season?
Which is surprising because he came in a lot leaner than he had in most years before.
They were saying that was causing an issue with him in terms of blocking, that he wasn't getting the blocks because he was just a smaller human being.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and when you're going against fucking NFL defensive linemen who are fucking 320 pounds minimum.
I mean, the Packers' weakness this year has been their rush defense, so I think Fournette and Jones are going to play a big factor. And if I were to say, like, the one element of this game that's going to make the difference, because we know Brady's going to have his weapons. We know Aaron Rodgers can do whatever he wants because he's Aaron Rodgers and he has Devontae Adams. I think it's going to come down to the rush games. I think Tampa has the number one rush defense. I think they have two quality backs. I think Tampa wins this game.
I still disagree. I still think Lazard had a big game. MVS had a big game. I still think it's going to be a lot of passing involved, at least from the Packers side. Ronald Jones is banged up. He was not banged up in week 6. And like I said, Aaron Jones might not have a huge game, but they're not keeping him to 10 rushes, 15 yards. Not this time. You don't get that twice on Aaron Jones.
I'm agree with Chris. I think it's going to be Packers. And, let's be real. Aaron Rodgers remembers week 6. He remembers, that game. I would not be surprised if he comes out and is a bad motherfucker and just fucks shit up for Tom Brady and the Bucs.
The North remembers.
Petridge Farm remembers.
We might have to make a wager on this game because I'm going opposite from you two. We'll worry about that later. Let's talk AFC Championship. The NFC, you got the two old, wily vets who've won MVP and Super Bowl champ. The AFC, you got the two young stars. Mahomes has already won an MVP and Super Bowl. Josh Allen is stepping into that category. Again, it all comes down to if Mahomes plays or not.
Yeah. Again, I think even despite that, the Chiefs have been dealing with a little bit of banged upness. Like Godwin's been on and off.
Godwin's on the Bucs.
Not Godwin. Sammy Watkins. That's the one I'm thinking of.
Right.
Also, revenge game for Sammy.
True. I'm wearing the shirt. Sorry, just every time we bring up Sammy Watkins, all I think about is the songs that I've mentioned by this band, and I'm wearing the band today, so I hope that Sammy kid's supposed to be something special. Hope he is. It's a line from the song. Thanks. I'll be here all week. Yeah, but and it's got it's got two of the teams in the song. That's crazy. Anyway, yeah, but revenge game for him, but he's banged up. Mm-hmm. Tyreek Hill is still Tyreek Hill, even though I think he's dealing with a little something, but I think he's been dealing with it all year, so I think he'll be okay. But yeah, I think the big thing is Patrick Mahomes.
I think if Patrick Mahomes plays, Kelsey's your X factor.
Oh, yeah.
Because, I'm just looking at paper, and I'm looking at, Josh Allen and Pat Mahomes, not on the same level, but damn near close. Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, I might give the edge to Stephon Diggs just because he's a little bit taller and he has the height. And then
Tyreek's all speed.
Right.
Diggs kind of puts it together to get his numbers. I'm not saying Tyreek Hill's bad, but...
Oh, no, I'm saying, between those two matchups, it's very close. I could go back and forth. I could argue both points. But I feel like the Bills, they don't have a high caliber tight end like Travis Kelce, who will get you 10 catches for 111 yards and a touchdown and make it look like it's nothing.
And he's a nightmare matchup because he's too big for a corner and too fast for a linebacker.
Mm-hmm.
To me,
you also have to remember, he finished second in receiving behind Stephon Diggs.
Right.
Yeah, and wasn't Hill third? something like that. Like, you have
Yeah.
3 of the top receivers in football in this game, which is why I think the X factor is actually going to be the Honey Badger. I think it's going to be Tyrann Mathieu, because we've seen that the Bills have the ability to score. We've seen that the Bills last week stopped Lamar. They can play defense. For the Chiefs, I mean, we know, like you said, Kelsey, Hill, playmakers can score at any given moment. It's going to come down to who's going to be able to make the stops more consistently. And I think the Honey Badger, like you saw him pick off Baker, we've seen that he's made plays, and when they need a stand, how he'll be able to step up and beat Josh Allen, or step up and limit Stephon Diggs. But for me, this is just the last part I'm going to say about Mahomes, if he plays or not. If Mahomes plays, I can see the Chiefs winning this game by like a touchdown. Right? If Mahomes doesn't play, I think the Bills win this game convincingly.
I can agree with that. I think it's going to be a lot tighter of a game than a lot of people are expecting, like some casuals, I guess, because like the Bills this year are on the map, but when you think Bills in the past, you think, oh, they're going to fuck it up. This just doesn't feel like that team to me. So I really feel like this is going to be a lot closer game than people give it credit for, and I think it has the potential to be a real coming out party for Josh Allen, even though he's already had his coming out party this year. But just to put that cement of, no, I'm top 5 in the league, get the fuck out of my face.
On the biggest stage. I mean, look at the final 4 quarterbacks. Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. Like, welcome to the big leagues, buddy. Like, those guys are going to Canton, and you're playing against the Chiefs this weekend.
And this is the first time they have the opportunity to go to the Super Bowl. Well, I don't know if the opportunity, but this could be the first time they go to the Super Bowl since the Four Falls or whatever it was?
93.
Yeah, who's the last team? Born. The last team that they beat in the AFC Championship was the Chiefs.
Oh, so ultimate revenge game.
Oh, shit.
Also, fun fact, kind of weird, the Bills and Chiefs played each other week 6. The Bucks and Packers played each other week 6. I'm just saying, it's just a week 6 rematch.
Yo.
Yeah, but I don't draw on that from as much as people do, especially when the matches are that far off, because so much happens throughout a season. People get banged up. People take little injuries here or there.
I was going to say,
so you don't know who's really at 100%.
No, it was a long time ago. I'm just saying it's interesting that these two teams both happen to play each other week 6.
No, yeah, definitely.
Weird little nugget.
Conspiracy.
Speaking of the Bills, one last thing about the Bills before we move on to other football-related news. The Bills, I got to give shout-out Bills Mafia for after the hit that knocked Lamar Jackson out. You guys saw that they were donating to his charity in increments of 8.
Oh, I didn't see it was 8.
It was increments of 8 for Lamar to his charity, which is just, I mean, in a way, it's got to suck for Lamar that not only did this team beat him, not only did this team knock him out, but he now has to go out and be like, yeah, thanks, Bills Mafia, for beating me and donating to my charity.
But yo, Bills Mafia, they're a loyal bunch of fans up there. Like, I remember they did the same thing when Andy Dalton beat whoever they needed to beat to get into the playoffs. They all rushed out immediately and started donating to his charity. When Josh Allen's grandmother got sick, they rushed and donated to his charity. Like, they're a loyal bunch of people up there.
Very charitable in Bills Mafia.
And I like being able to like shit on someone while like donating to their charity. Just like, yeah, we beat you, so here's money.
Right. Oh no, you guys couldn't cut it in the game? Well, guess what? Here's some money, do some good with it.
No, it is crazy though.
It's demoralizing. Like, you just wake up and you're like, yeah, but like all this money's flowing in. Oh, it's from the Bills.
Great.
But charity's a good thing. Good job, Bills Mafia.
Mm-hmm.
Good job. All right, so yeah, let's move on. Let's start talking about the big news of the week in the football world. Deshaun Watson was at a 2. Now he's at a 10. And he wants the fuck out of Houston.
Yo, everyone wants to fuck out of Houston. J.J. Watt wants out of Houston. James Harden wanted out of Houston. Deshaun Watson, you're next on the list. You're going to get out of Houston.
Yeah, somehow the Houston Astros are the least dysfunctional franchise in Houston.
For now.
Well, that's just because they're cheating.
For now. Yeah, so what I've heard, the most recent thing I've heard in terms of the Deshaun Watson thing is that they told him he'd be involved. We all know this, that they told him he'd be involved and he wasn't. They hired an outside consulting firm to lead the search for the GM. Still didn't consult Deshaun. Didn't even use the advice of the consulting firm. Jack Esterby came in to Bob McNair's office. They literally prayed. Didn't have a full discussion, just prayed. And then they went and hired Nick Cassaro or Cassiero, whatever his name is, from New England because they want to be like the Patriots. Yeah, Deshaun, I'd be a little upset too.
Yeah, and it's not even like they even like his two big cases were Bieniemy and Robert Saleh, and they didn't even like entertain it. They didn't even just like give them interviews as like a courtesy of, hey, how you doing? Like Deshaun wanted us to talk to you, so we're talking to you. They were just like, hey, nah, fuck that guy. Fuck all the black people. Let's just go with the white guy.
Yeah.
And that's how, at least that's how it came off to Deshaun. If you hear what he's been putting out in the media,
That goes back to Hopkins because when Hopkins left, he came out and had similar sentiments that like Bob McNair is this old billionaire from Texas who isn't the most progressive, and he said it caused issues for him.
Well, the most fucked up thing though is the fact that like Deshaun knew, like, hey, listen, I'm not going to be the one to like to hire the next coach or whatnot, or GM. I'm sorry, but please let me be there because I'm the franchise quarterback. I can tell you what the players want. I can give you the players' perspective, and I would say like, yo, this is good guy, this is bad guy. I think XYZ for this one, but then just like you said, to not listen to him at all is just like a big slap in the face.
and I think that's kind of the running theme in Houston that you keep hearing from current players, former players for the Houston Texans organization is they don't give a fuck about what the players want, what they think, how they feel about how things are operating. They just decide, hey, we're gonna do this. If you don't like it, sucks.
We saw J.J. Watt have the rant at the end of the season, and like J.J. Watt has been there for so long. He's seen so many different quarterbacks, so many different head coaches, and like if he's fed up, probably not. Yeah, it's bad, and it makes honestly like Chris. I don't know if you feel the same way, but like it makes the Jets look slightly less shitty because there might be a more dysfunctional team.
I think right now there definitely is because Joe Douglas seems to be able to implement the plan that he's putting forward. However, he's convincing the Johnsons to let him do that, and that's big. That's huge. That's not something that happens very often. So yeah, I would definitely say they're not nearly as dysfunctional as the Jags right now. Or not the Jags, the
Jets.
Texans.
The Texans.
Would you trade for Watson right now? If you were Joe Douglas, would you give up the second pick? Would you give up next year's pick? Would you pull the trigger and go all in?
I'd give up the house, but it doesn't really matter what the Jets are willing to give up because Deshaun's not going to go there. He has a no trade clause. He gets to pick how this all works out. It's just it's not going to happen. I really don't see it unless he really likes Saleh that much, because that was one of the guys he had a problem with them not interviewing him.
Right, but I just think if you're the Jets, you gotta at least make that offer.
I'm sure they have, and I'm sure if they haven't, they're going to. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't try, but Deshaun has final say. If he doesn't want to come here, which he probably doesn't because no one wants to come here, that's all he can do.
I mean, I agree with you, Chris. Like, I would trade. If I was the Jets, I would do everything in my power to land Deshaun Watson. But, like you said, I don't think he's coming to New York. Like, I think he is going to go somewhere where he actually has a better shot of like winning. Like maybe
Jets-
Miami though, because I heard Miami's rumored. They might be in the mix for Deshaun.
Well, yeah, that's where he wants to go. And all these rumors
Yeah.
that come out that they don't really believe in Tua, like the players. Not that he's a bad guy or anything, just that they're not sure if he's an NFL caliber quarterback. So it could be a match made in heaven. But all I'm saying is, if Deshaun's interested in that and they want to give up enough capital that the Texans will make it happen, sure, do it. But I don't. Everyone's talking about, oh, Jets are in the best position, Jets are this or that. Deshaun has to say yes. And honestly, I don't think the Jets are in a terrible position in a chance to give him like a winning team. They have Joe Douglas, who we've talked about how much we like him and how we think he's making the right moves. Even giving up as much capital as they have, they're still great on cap space. They're even if they give up a lot of capital, we have so much right now that we'll still have something to build off of.
Right.
And having a 25-year-old Deshaun Watson. Come on.
He'd be the face of the franchise, and I mean, I believe in Darnold like you believe in Darnold, but we both know Watson's just better. Like Darnold's never going to reach where Watson is. The Jets have $60 million in cap space, the third most in the league. If Watson were to go to the Jets could absolutely sign Allen Robinson, Kenny Galladay. They have Becton. You have a new offensive coordinator also coming over from the 49ers. It's not as undesirable as it sounds, although we are still the Jets and still a disaster. I just don't. I mean, I think it's possible. It scares me to say it, but because this new GM was the head of player development in New England, I'm not saying it. It just seems like there's a possibility he's a spy for Belichick to infiltrate that organization. The Patriots need a quarterback. Watson wants out. Deshaun Watson could very easily end up being traded to the Patriots. The Patriots have $54 million in cap space. They could sign a star receiver, and we're looking at another 20 years of hell being the Patriots.
So
see, I don't know about all that, because you have to remember, before Tom Brady took over, they had won 7 playoff games in their entire existence. 7.
And then Bill Belichick also came with Brady at the same time.
But I was going to say, so are you just basically saying that Belichick has just been infiltrating Houston because it seems like everyone they've hired has come from the Patriots?
Yes. I mean, like, Deshaun's upset that they hired this GM from New England without giving consideration to who he wanted. Why were they so eager to do it? That's all that, Dev. Why are they so eager to get... I know. Yeah, so Watson's going to... I just think there's a chance... I mean, I'm being conspiratorial, Eric, here. Conspiracy Eric. That this guy, Casero, is taking over just to get Watson to the Patriots. The Patriots sign a star receiver. They get the guys who opted out this year back on defense. Patriots win a Super Bowl, and they just send him a ring in the mail.
Yeah, I don't know about all that, but...
It's also not the
little
craziest
bit of a
thing you
stretch to me.
said, but
They are.
Listen.
I mean, the Patriots got to be one of the destinations for Deshaun.
Oh, yeah. I can see that.
Yeah, but I don't think they have enough capital to make it happen with the Texans.
No, they do.
Maybe make it 3-team.
Are you mean in terms of draft
trade.
picks?
Yeah.
They have their pick, which is going to be like the 16th or 15th.
Yeah, but unless they're trying to rattle off their draft pick for the next 4 years, their first-round draft pick, it's going to take more than, the 16th pick or something like that?
If Bill O'Brien
for Deshaun Watson?
If Bill O'Brien was still there, then he would definitely make that trade, because Bill O'Brien, I mean, they got basically
Deshaun would be out of there for a 4th-round pick if Bill O'Brien was there. Like
Bill O'Brien, Deshaun Watson would be out of there for $1 if Bill O'Brien was still in charge.
They got nothing for Hopkins. They gave up a first-round pick for Laramie Tunsil, who, he hasn't been bad, but an offensive tackle isn't going to, individually change your team.
No, but, yeah.
There's also a planned protest outside of the stadium in Houston in solidarity with Deshaun Watson, and Watson took to Twitter and was just like, yeah, guys, pandemic, don't do that.
Yeah, maybe Maybe not your best idea.
You're a good manager, Sean. You deserve better. And to quote JJ, we're sorry that you wasted a year of your career.
For real, though. That team should have been better.
It should have been. Fucking, Bill O'Brien, like, ran them into the ground. Like, they just, with all the talent they had.
Yeah, especially what they started the year with. Because they had Will Fuller, Brandon Cooks, Deshaun Watson. Like, yeah, you traded away D-Hop, which is not good. It's not going to help you in the slightest. But they still had
David Johnson,
a lot of talent.
He's a solid running back. Yes, he's not DeAndre Hopkins, but he's still serviceable.
Yeah, that you still should never have done that. And Duke Johnson played okay behind him after he got hurt.
It's like what we've been saying with the Chargers, though, is like you look at that roster and the talent, and they should have been better. And as even just going back before the season, when they did have DeAndre Hopkins, they still had Will Fuller, they had J.J. Watt, they had the Honey Badger for a little bit there. They had good defenses, and they won one playoff game. They beat the Bills last year when Josh Allen decided to lateral it. Like they just never got it done. And Watson makes sense, and he's definitely not going to play there next year. But I don't see him going to a team that's not going to put him in a position to win right away. Imagine he went to the 49ers. That would be sick.
I think that'd be a good landing spot for him.
That'd be pretty damn amazing for them.
But you also don't know. You also got to see about these new coaching staff hires because we took Saleh from them. We took their passing game coordinator.
Mike LaFleur.
We took their rushing game coordinator. Like we took some pieces from them.
Who's the head coach again of the Niners? Shanahan?
Yeah.
I still think he could put together a good staff for Deshaun.
I wrote an article.
They stole his brother.
Well, you know what? Revenge game.
Everything's a revenge game.
Yes.
I wrote an article about Watson a couple weeks ago, and I think the three best fits for him would be the Bears. So the Bears can give up a lot of picks, and they have space. I think the Washington football team, because remember, when Cam Newton won the MVP, Ron Rivera was his coach.
Yeah.
The Washington football team has, Terry McLaurin, Antonio Gibson, and that crazy good defense. You throw Watson on that team, Super Bowl contender. And my dark horse, pun intended, is the Broncos. Because the Broncos have really good receivers.
True.
Jerry Jeudy, Tim Patrick. They played all year without Cortland Sutton. Noah Fant, a great tight end. Next year they'll have Von Miller back on defense. The Broncos could finally figure out a quarterback that's not shitty Drew Lock. They could make a run.
I forgot about the Broncos.
Yeah, you gotta remember, even their rushing game, like Lindsey was going off for a while. Like
Melvin
he
Gordon
had a
was
down.
solid.
Yeah, he had a down year this year, and then they also added Melvin Gordon into that, so they have a lot of weapons on offense.
Right, and the defense was banged up all year. They, next year if they're completely healthy, starting from scratch, right quarterback in that system can definitely win them a lot of games.
Definitely at least get them to the postseason.
Yeah.
They need a postseason. They deserve so much better.
All right, so let's move on to the other big football news of the week. The Jets made a correct decision for the first time that I think I've been alive.
The Jets hire Robert Saleh to be the new head coach, first Muslim head coach in the NFL. Yay. And like you said, the first time the Jets have made a good decision in a long time.
That's a bigger yay right there.
Yay.
Yeah.
I really thought
I'm all for inclusion, but the Jets made a right decision. Holy shit.
When I read that he had his second interview and left the building, I was just like, oh god, they're going to fuck up right now. They are not going to sign him. Like, you got to be kidding me. And then I was relieved for you guys when they made the right call and gave the man his contract. Was it like a 5-year deal?
I don't know. I don't take much in terms of coaches' length of their contracts because, coaches get fired, coaches find new jobs, coaches quit. But it doesn't matter because he's not Adam Gase, so he's automatically better. He ran a really good defense, so he's like that doesn't happen too often. There's not a whole all the offensive plays, all of the way that the NFL is going, you're seeing all these head coaches being like Bieniemy and different offensive coordinators. The Jets kind of, went the opposite and went with the defensive guy. Might not be the worst idea in the world.
That was the one thing that actually did worry me because we keep going for these defensive guys. Like that used to be before Gase, used to be like our trend. We went from
Edwards, Mangini,
Rex
Bowles,
Ryan into
Rex.
Bowles,
Forgot
into
about Rex,
all
I'm sorry.
defensive guys. So that does kind of worry me a little bit that we're kind of just like keeping that same pattern. But Salah's out of the two, it was Bieniemy and Salah were the two like major names on the market. So the fact that we even got one,
Yeah.
I'm very happy. I do like that they're taking Shanahan, not Shanahan,
LaFleur.
LaFleur's brother.
Mike
Yeah,
LaFleur.
as their offensive coordinator. And yeah, I think all in all, would I probably have preferred Bieniemy? Sure, but I can't knock this pick. Like I can't knock this higher. This is way better than anything I could have hoped for from the Jets. Once Doug Peterson got fired, I was locked in. I knew that's who we were getting.
Right?
But it ended up not working out that way.
That nightmare just flashed before all of our eyes. But Dev, to piggyback on what you said, like, when they went through those defensive coaches, actually, you both said it, that was the last time the Jets made the playoffs. Like, Rex got them there. Todd Bowles had some winning seasons. Like, under Gase, the offensive guru, it was terrible. It was just terrible. And we've never seen, like, we talked about the locker room implosion with Jamal Adams and Le'Veon Bell wanting out. Like, it's never been that bad. So Salah just automatically is going to make it better.
I wouldn't put Adam Gase on offensive coaches. You got to put Adam Gase on Adam Gase, all right?
Fair.
He's in his own special category.
He's going to get a job somewhere, and it's going to be so funny.
Rumors has it that like Seattle's looking for him at as OC.
Why?
Why?
Why would you do that to Russ Wilson and Metcalf? I don't know.
Why would you do that and put Jamal Adams and Adam Gase back on the same team?
Oh, shit.
That would make me so happy. That would make me so happy. Just, you talked so much shit about this guy, and now you got traded. You were like, yeah, we're going to do something. Not only do you lose in the first round of the playoffs, but you hire that guy right after. Oh, my God, that would be great.
If that's the case, get my popcorn ready because I am tuning in for that shit. That's going to be a great shit show.
You know he would demand a trade and be like, I want to go back to the Jets. It's the one place he's not going to go.
Could you imagine him and Marcus May just making a reunion?
Speaking of the Jets, like to continue with the Jets, you talk about getting LaFleur. If he learned from Kyle Shanahan, like that offense is going to be brand new next year for the Jets.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to have to find a running back to replace Frank Gore because he's not going to be able to run the Kyle Shanahan offense. But, like, Shanahan took the Falcons to the Super Bowl. Okay, they didn't win it. Shanahan took the Niners to the Super Bowl. Okay, they didn't win it. But now you got Salah, who's defensive guru. Like, I don't know. I'm excited. I'm optimistic about this.
Yeah, I'm definitely very optimistic. Like I said, might not have been my first choice, but out of all the choices we could have had, I'm very happy with the pick.
And, I mean, your defense going into the season wasn't as great, but it wasn't like the worst. It was kind of, I feel like, middle of the pack. Salah, I was going to say...
A big thing about that, though, is we were missing C.J. Mosley, who we were going to get back.
Right.
And he's like the real leader of that defense.
Right.
And the highest paid player of the team.
That is true. And I was going to say that even with the Niners and all their defense and injuries and all that stuff, he turned that into a top 5 defense. So just imagine what he could do with a defense that's getting their best player back. The sky's the limit.
Yeah, Quinnen Williams is going to be a monster next season.
Yeah, their run defense was spectacular. If they can get some guys in coverage, plus adding Mosley back, they could really be a problem.
There's rumors that Richard Sherman's going to join the Jets, follow Salah.
Ooh.
Really?
I mean, I think he's past his prime, and it's going to be like when we got Revis back, but who knows? He's a good locker room guy.
It puts a quality veteran in that spot, even if he might have lost a step from where he was.
But yeah,
it's better than these up and comers that shouldn't really be starting as your number one at all.
If he ends up being more of a mentor role than a playmaker role, that's still good for the young guys.
Yeah,
like, that's just
still another leader to go with CJ. Because other than that defense is pretty young, all their main guys.
Mm-hmm.
And Jamal was that other kind of leader before he left. So just to take some of that off CJ and have another guy who, like, players come into the league and they immediately respect because he's Richard Sherman.
Right. Yeah, the other big coaching move, Urban Meyer returning to Florida. Hi, Natalie.
Dev magically got a baby.
Hey, look who decided to join the podcast. Natalie, say what's up.
Hi, Natalie.
What's up, everybody?
I'm so excited she's on the podcast. I'm so excited.
Are you waving?
Yeah. She said hi. She said hi to all of our watchers on YouTube. Viewers.
Oh, I feel bad for the people just listening right now. Because you're missing out on some adorable action, all right?
Well, hey, if you want to see this adorable action, you should go to YouTube, check out Basement Boys Podcast, and then you can see my daughter. What's up?
Also, follow us on Instagram and Twitter because we will be posting pictures.
Oh, yeah, we could do that.
Natalie.
All right, so let's jump into Urban Meyer real quick while we still have our little guest. Yeah, so Jags hire Urban Meyer. Mm-hmm. I'm not really a fan of this move. I think he shows no loyalty to whatever system he's in. I never really trust college coaches coming in because we've tried this experiment way too many times.
Yeah.
And just, I don't know what the Jags were thinking. They had the best situation coming in. They could have gotten anyone they want, and they go Urban Meyer.
I think they're thinking that, hey, we'll get Urban Meyer. He's a big name. He's a college coach, so it'll be an easy transition for Trevor Lawrence. And, yeah, but like you said, I agree with you. He has no loyalty to any program he's been at. I wouldn't be surprised if, like, after a couple of years, you hear little rumblings of some rumor of him, cheating or committing some scandal, and he, quote-unquote, retires for health reasons.
Clearly, he's shown that, like, anywhere he goes, whether it's Utah, Florida, Ohio State, he leaves a mess behind him. But that's different because it's usually recruiting things, and that's not going to be as much of a factor in the NFL. But he doesn't. I agree with Chris that, like, he doesn't have the NFL experience. We've seen a lot of college coaches jump to the NFL, and with the exception of Pete Carroll, it really doesn't work out. Like, I don't see a lot of successes. He could very easily help them build because, Trevor Lawrence is going to be a rookie. You have James Robinson his second year. You have all of these young receivers, Chenault and Cole and Shark. So they're offensively, he's going to help them be better than last year, but they won one game last year, so he doesn't have to do much to improve. Defensively, they have the other Josh Allen, who missed half of this year. They have Miles Jack, so they have some playmakers there, and they have the most cap space in the NFL, so they can essentially use him to recruit free agents the same way he would recruit players to Florida or Ohio State. It's just like you said, he doesn't have loyalty. So what happens if in 3 years, 4 years from now, he's realized, like, the Jags are the Jags? They're just, they're never going to be that elite franchise. And maybe he picks up and leaves, or maybe he retires, maybe goes to another team. I think in 5 years from now, Trevor Lawrence might still be on the Jaguars. I don't think Urban Meyer is going to be the coach.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. Like you guys were saying last week about Nick Saban, how is he going to handle not being able to control everything?
Right, Natalie, you agree, because he's got to share the control with the Khans, who are notoriously known for being involved in their football team, whether it be, the stadium, the flying players on yachts, or whatever it may be, and deciding, oh, hey, we should get this guy. The Khans are going to have their hands in everything.
Right. I mean, I think they're still going to let him hire whatever coaches he wants, and it's going to be like Ohio State coaching staff 2.0. But yeah, the Khans ultimately have to say. It's not the same as running your own college program. I see why the Jags did it, because you have a lot of free agents this year, and a lot of free agents, but the cap space, they can sign free agents for the next couple of years. And Urban's just an incredible recruiter and a good football coach. I don't think he's going to have the success in the NFL that he had in college.
I completely agree.
I want to propose this question, though. Like, this is the pros. You're not trying to get players to come to play for your school. Do we think that some players are going to be like intrigued by the fact that Urban Myers is there? Like, what's to say, you went to Michigan? Are you really, if you're that loyal to your program, are you going to be interested in playing for Ohio State Urban Myers?
I think once it gets to the NFL, you don't really worry about things like that.
Right.
Mhm.
I think once
But-
the money is there, the money's what's going to make the decision.
But I also think it could hurt players wanting to go there because again, we've seen how this college coach, you bring in the legendary college coach and they don't match up because things get so much more detailed and intricate, and it's not the same. The speed's faster, the plays are more technical. You can't run the same style of offense.
Right.
We
You
saw
can take
Saban,
things from it.
We saw Saban try to coach in the NFL and it just didn't work.
Yeah.
As great of a coach as he was, it's a different game.
Same with Chip Kelly.
Yeah.
They
And
created
they even
Oregon.
gave Chip Kelly the keys to the whole fucking ranch.
And he shipped LaShawn McCoy up to Buffalo.
Not a good move. Not a good move.
Natalie is not a fan of that move either, even though that's before her time.
Is LaShawn McCoy still on the Bucks?
Yeah, oh God, he is. I forgot about that.
Oh,
if
yeah.
If the Bucks make the Super Bowl, which I think they will, then it's going to be LaShawn McCoy revenge game. LaShawn McCoy, Super Bowl MVP.
Yo, imagine
okay.
they actually unleash him for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, why not? Get weird with it. It'd be cool to see Tampa play in Tampa, though, for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they've been building up to all year.
Seems like it's a likely possibility. I mean, who knows?
All right, let's pivot away from football a little bit. I feel like we got our fill there. We talked about the Harden trade last week. Now we kind of got to see a little bit of it.
Mm-hmm.
Harden and Durant reunited, and it feels so good.
Yo, those boys are acting like they have not missed a step. I think they put up 62, 64 points between the two of them last night. And then another 30-point game for each in their first game back together. So like 120 points per duo. I mean, for the duo in their first two games back together. It's something fun to watch right now.
And it also doesn't hurt that Harden looked like he lost an entire other human overnight.
We got to talk
Yeah.
about that.
Okay.
I'm convinced he was wearing a fat suit in Houston just to force the trade. I don't see any human being losing that much weight that fast unless it was a fat suit to get out of Houston.
Look, I'm a super fast metabolism guy. I pick up and drop weight and do all that very, very quickly. Bro, he lost another human being overnight.
And you see it with the MMA guys. They don't even cut that fast.
Right. Like, that's in some next level genius shit right there. To force your way out of a town, you'd be like, let me put this fat suit on. Let me make them think I'm overweight.
Like, I'm not saying I'm completely sold on the fat suit idea, but he had to do something. Like, wear some extra layers, do something. Like,
He made it abundantly clear that if he was going to stay in Houston, he was not taking it serious. He was going to party with the strippers. He was going to be lazy. He was going to let himself go. If somehow Deshaun Watson is still on the Texans by next fall, just take a page out of Harden's book. Just start partying with strippers and let yourself go.
Yo, Deshaun's on the Texans by next fall. Me and Natalie, we might fly down to Houston and we're grabbing him and we'll be like, yo, for your safety, we got to get you out of here, man. Like, let's go.
I think he goes deeper than Harden, though. I think Durant was the mastermind behind this whole thing. And when him and Kyrie were talking, he said, hey, Kyrie, the only way that we can get Harden here without having to trade you, the only way Kyrie stays is if you go off the grid, you go rogue, you start doing all sorts of weird stuff. Kyrie missed 7 games. He was out partying with his dad and his sister for their birthdays. And they pulled off the trade because the Rockets didn't want Kyrie. The Rockets said, look, Kyrie's a problem right now. We'll take LeVert. We'll take LeVert and flip him into Oladipo. But I'm convinced, and this is conspiracy Eric going off the rails here, that Kyrie and Harden and KD put this all together to make Harden look fat so that he would be forced his way out. Kyrie acting crazy so that the Rockets wouldn't want him. And now the three of them are together and happy in Brooklyn.
I don't know how long that happiness lasts, like I said last episode, but it's starting out pretty hot.
Well,
Katie and Harden can work together. I mean, they've done it before. So I felt like out of all the relationships, that was the one that was going to hold up the more. I feel like adding Kyrie in there, just who Kyrie and Harden are as people, I feel like this blows up before the end of the season.
I agree with that. Like, yeah, it's been all sunshine and roses right now without Kyrie. Let's see how it goes. A couple weeks in, and if they hit a roadblock and they start stumbling and they start losing games, let's see how it happens then.
They just beat the Bucks last night. I don't know when this is going to be released, but at the time of the recording last night, the Bucks lost to the Nets in Brooklyn. At the end of the game, Harden had a chance to win it, took the three, missed it, but he hustled. He got his own rebound and found Kevin Durant, who hit the three with 3 seconds left. If you're a defense, there's so much you can do to stop Harden, and then you get the stop, he misses the shot, he gets his own rebound, he finds Durant. That's got to be so deflating, and in a playoff series, to lose a game in that fashion, it's going to be real hard to come back from.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like I'm saying, I don't think there's going to be the whole time. Like, I don't think this is going to be just a shit show. I think there are going to be great moments coming out of this like trio of guys. I just don't know if the personalities can all coexist until the end. But Harden coming out and saying, like, look, I got paid. I've done all that. I've been MVP caliber. I've done all these things. I want championships. That gives me some hope this might work out a little more. But just seeing Kyrie, I think Kyrie is going to be the X factor.
Yeah, definitely.
Agree.
Harden's got to be. I mean, Harden's the only one of the three that doesn't have a championship, so he's going to be the most hungry. He said it, after the game. He said him and KD were kids in Oklahoma City, and now they're men. And you could just see on his face, like, he's happy, he's excited to be there. And like I was saying last week, I think he was just really upset with Houston. And once he gets out of Houston, now he's in Brooklyn. He's ready to show up to work and do what he needs to do to win a championship. Kyrie, on the other hand, it's going to be about getting him to buy in.
Yep.
No, I agree. I agree with you there, saying that he just wanted out of Houston and that was the cause of all the problems before. I agree with that. I just think a different set of problems can now occur between him and Kyrie, depending on, like you said, if Kyrie buys in or not.
And that's going to be up to Steve Nash, see how much he had control of the locker room.
Doesn't seem like much at the moment, but I feel like that's also kind of why they brought him in.
It's a different management style, He's letting the players kind of have more say, more control. I don't know. It'll be very fun, very interesting to watch.
All right. Can we move into my favorite part of the show? Or do you have something to say, Dev?
Oh, no. I was just saying. My bad. I got distracted for a quick second. Just moving shit around. So, I hear some fighting's happening.
Lots of fighting this week. Starting off, over the weekend, the first UFC on ABC card. We don't know if this is going to continue to be a thing moving forward, but they finally got one on ABC on network television, which is super cool. And it goes off with already in January, Fight of the Year contender, Holloway versus Qatar. Max Holloway went full on God mode in this fight. He was able to do whatever he wanted. He was moving in and out, slipping punches. Anything that even landed from Qatar didn't even affect him. And he was just throwing punches and bunches. The highest output I've ever seen. Everyone likes to talk about Tony Ferguson. Everyone likes to talk about Colby Covington when it talks about pace. But Max's pace, the three top output fights in the UFC now all belong to Max Holloway, as he set a new record for it again for the third time, where he threw about, I don't have the exact number in front of me, but about 450 strikes over 5 rounds.
Damn.
Which is absolutely incredible. Incredible.
This was Holloway?
Yeah, this is Max Holloway. I understand that him and Volkanovski have also fought twice, and I understand Volkanovski Volkanovski is now fighting Brian Ortega. If Volkanovski wins that fight, Max better get that title shot. Because in my personal opinion, I thought Max won the second fight. I thought the first fight was pretty close too, but I definitely understand how people threw that to Volkanovski. The second fight, again, it was very close, but I think Max clearly won it. So even though they don't like to go back to back, like off of 2 losses to a guy to have him fight him again, there's no other options. Max Holloway, like I said, went full on God mode, and to not give that man a title shot, I don't care who wins that fight, would just be a travesty. And especially if Ortega wins that fight, because Brian Ortega already got embarrassed by Holloway. Just beat up. And now Holloway is taking it to even the next level.
So, wait, first off, what division is this for? Is this like middleweight?
145.
Okay.
Featherweight.
Okay. I'm getting closer. I'm getting closer to
Yeah, you're getting there. We're figuring it out.
Hey, I'm trying. So, would it be like a sign of like disrespect if like Holloway does not get this next, if he doesn't get a title shot like sometime soon, since he's already beaten, he went God mode as you said. He's already beaten Brian. Help me out real quick.
Brian Ortega. Yeah.
Thank you. Would that be like a sign that like like UFC is like, nah, he's not our guy? Or do you think that's just...
I don't think they do that to Max Holloway because everyone loves Max Holloway, even the UFC.
Yeah.
But if Ortega wins, I think Max Holloway definitely gets it because he already owns a win over the guy.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they'd let Volkanovski rematch him, but I think they'd go Holloway and then rematch him again against Holloway for the third Volkanovski fight. I think if Volkanovski wins, that's the only shot he has of not getting the title shot because he's already lost to him twice. But like I said, in my personal opinion, I really think Max won the second fight. And just the performance he put on by such a tough guy like Calvin Kattar, who is way too tough for his own good, should have been out of there in like the third or fourth, but just kept coming and brought it to a unanimous decision, even though that fight could have been stopped anywhere after the third round. Just the beating Max Holloway was putting on him. He even stopped because Kattar said in the beginning, like in the lead up to the fight, hey, I'm the senior in boxing, Max is the freshman. Max is beating him up so bad that he stopped in the middle of the round and goes, freshman came to play, huh? He started talking with the commentary team because he's friends with DC. He was going nuts in there and he was playing around and it didn't even seem hard. And Calvin Kattar is one of the best guys in the division.
So
there's no reason.
As a casual, I need to ask, who is the current champion of this division?
Volkanovski.
Okay. And who would you say, other than Max Holloway, is deserving of a fight against him?
I mean, they have him scheduled to fight Brian Ortega right now, but other than that, no one comes close. Not at 145.
And who do you like in that fight? Does Holloway win the belt?
Well, Holloway had the belt until he fought Volkanovski, and they fought twice.
Right, but
Volkanovski
does
won
he take
both.
it back?
Volkanovski won both those fights, but I don't think he really won the second fight. I think that was a bad decision on the judge's part, and I think the first fight was way too close for comfort. And Max Holloway has shown such a progression over these last 2 fights he's had.
I'll be right back.
Oh, bye, Nat. We'll miss you.
We dropped a binky.
Yeah. But like I'm saying,
Okay.
Volkanovski doesn't.
I'll get you a new one. I can get you a.
Max Holloway, the fights were so close. Anytime those guys fight, it's going to be a close fight. They're both extremely talented, and he's not Volkanovski. Holloway has really leveled up since the last fight. He just this level of striking and this level of confidence and movement, and just he was crisp, he was sharp, and he hasn't been sparring, which I think is big for a lot of people. Like he said it himself, when you get to a certain level, there's only so much sparring you can do. You don't need to keep putting yourself through the wear and tear from sparring, when you know how to fight. Max Holloway's been in the UFC since his early 20s. And like he fought McGregor on his first come up during featherweight, and he was like 21 at the time. Max Holloway is still very young. I think he's only 29. He's just really getting into his physical prime. And I think he's still going to be the main man in this division for years to come. And I just don't see how you don't put him against Volkanovski again, especially for how close those fights were. Yeah, Volkanovski won them, and they don't like to do that a third time when the one person's won both fights. But it was really too close to call both times.
It's like the Saints and the Bucks. The Saints beat the Bucks twice, but then the Bucks got better as time went on, and the Bucks beat them when it mattered the most. So Holloway has gotten better. Holloway could take the third one.
I thought he took the second one, but yeah, I definitely could see him take the third one.
But was that a good analogy for a football head?
Close, yeah. I would say, but I would also say that level that he fought Volkanovski the first time, he was already legendary status, and he's leveled up from there in this last fight.
So,
I know Calvin Kattar's still a newer name, but don't let that fool you. The man is an absolute killer, and he just demolished him.
Holloway, right?
Yeah, Holloway just absolutely demolished him.
So would you say that Holloway, his power level is over 9,000?
Oh, fucking way over 9,000 at this point. He's approaching fucking Super Saiyan status. Moving up, UFC Fight Night, Chiesa versus Magny, happening on the 20th on a Wednesday, doing a 3-card week to start off the year as the UFC. Only really want to get into the main event on this one because I think Mike Chiesa versus Neil Magny is a great fight. Mike Chiesa is a different human being at 170. I don't know how he made 155. He has put on so much weight since moving up. He's a very, very large 170er at this point, and he used to make 155. He's just coming in looking fit, looking huge.
As a casual, give me like a real quick profile, like what his style's like, what to expect from watching this fight for both of them. Actually.
Well, that's where I'm going in with Michael Chiesa. I know Michael Chiesa is known as a grappler, but people don't give him credit for how good he is at grappling for MMA because he doesn't have all these crazy credentials that a lot of other people in MMA have. He's not a black belt with anyone. He's not training under this like crazy Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Like he's not training under the Gracies. He's not training under Eddie Bravo. And he doesn't have like necessarily a belt per se, but he is black belt level, especially when it comes to MMA jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu specifically made around MMA. He's done things I've never seen. I think it was an omoplata on Carlos Condit was incredible. He did it with no arms. He wasn't holding anything. He just kind of leaned through it. It was one of the craziest. It was a very crazy submission to me. But I think people don't like. I understand people know he's a good grappler, but I don't think they give him the credit for the level of grappler he is because he doesn't have these old style rankings and just kind of learned as he went along going through MMA. And then Neil Magny is basically 170's perennial gatekeeper. He is an absolute killer. You put him up against any of the young up-and-comers, he will find a way out of there. He's good at mixing up the games. He's good on his feet. He's good taking it to the ground. But he gets beat by the world-class guys. That's why I call him the perennial gatekeeper of the division.
Like if you beat him,
you're a world-class fighter. If you beat Neil Magny, you're a world-class fighter. So I think this is a huge test for Chiesa moving up moving up to 170 because he's always showed the potential at 155. He was just never able to really put it together. I think moving up to 170 and the way he's done it, he's put on the weight. He's a huge 170er even, and he used to make 155. So I think this is a huge test for Chiesa, and I think this could really just shoot him up the rankings.
So he just did the reverse
UFC's
James
welterweight
Harden.
division. What do you mean?
He put on the weight. He did the reverse Harden.
So,
well, not necessarily, because he put on good weight, not fat weight.
We don't know. My big question. All right, go ahead, Dev.
I was going to say, Chiesa, he's a natural 155.
I would say he's more of a natural 170er, and he was forcing his way down to 155.
So in theory, then he should be able to move like a lot smoother, a lot quicker, more comfortable.
Yeah, he's not draining himself. It's good for your chin when you're not doing that because you're not like dehydrating your brain the day before as much. And again, he's moved up in weight, so he still is cutting a decent amount of weight, but he was really killing himself to make 155. I think 170 is a much easier transition for him, even though he has put on weight to be able to compete in this weight division. But I think 170 is really the weight class for him. A lot of other 155 guys have moved up to 170 to kind of save themselves the weight cut, like looking at like the Anthony Pettis's, looking at the Donald Cerrone's of the world, but they were just kind of undersized for that division. They just didn't want to cut all the weight, where I think Chiesa is perfect size for this division and was forcing himself down to 155, kind of depleting himself. I think this is where he's meant to be. He's not overly short for this division. He's not undersized for this division like a lot of these other guys were. And I think he has had and is going to continue to have some great success here.
My question. The question that's on everybody's mind. Who do you bet on? Neil Magny's the favorite, minus 145. Michael Chiesa's the underdog at plus 115. Where do I throw my money? How much do I throw? How confident are you?
This fight's hard because this is his real first challenge at 170. And you've seen him fall short on some challenges when at 155. So you don't really know moving up to this next level where it's going to be. My heart feels Chiesa, but you can never sleep on Neil Magny, man. Like I said, he only loses to the best in the world. He only loses to world-class guys, but I think Michael Chiesa is there.
Michael Chiesa, he's the bet.
That's who I would take. I'm not super competent, and I would not bet the house.
All right, throwing $400 on it? No, I'm just kidding. I did just put...
All right, so...
small wager on it. Shall we move ahead to Saturday? Saturday. There's this guy
Saturday,
fighting. I've heard of him before.
The big card. Everyone wants to talk about this card.
There's only one Conor McGregor. It ain't no fighter better. He got knocked out by Floyd Mayweather.
I like your little song there. But I have a very love-hate relationship with Conor McGregor fights. Things I love about Conor McGregor fights. A, he's a good fighter. Like, he is. Like, through all the stuff he's been through this year and the last few years, and, like, you might think he's a dick of a person, and I can completely understand why. But when he's on, he's one of the best fighters to have ever competed in the UFC. Just the way he thinks about fighting and just his fight IQ in general is so high, so high. So that's always good. Things I like is actual normal people want to actually talk about fighting with me. But that also leads me to the things I don't like, because the week before every Conor McGregor fight, I become everyone's personal MMA correspondent, and I have to give the exact same preview 19 times a day, every single day for that whole week.
Here's an idea. I'm just thinking out loud. Maybe between now and Saturday, you just record like a 10-minute, just go off King, break down the whole McGregor Poirier every angle, every detail, every aspect, and just put it out there for the masses to enjoy. So when people are in our DMs,
I do very much plan to do that, but that's not going to stop people because they want it from the source. They want to ask questions. They want to get it.
Say, please look at Exhibit
Basement
A.
Boys podcast at Twitter.
Ain't going to stop no one, all right? Ain't going to stop no one. They'll watch it and still ask me 16 more questions, which is fun. Like I said, I love talking about fighting, but doing the same 5 questions over and over 30 times a day for a week, it's just like, I don't know if he's going to win. Yes, the guy he's fighting is a good fighter. I don't know. Depends on the type of Conor we see. Yeah, that old man he punched in the face. He did that. That was the thing.
So,
yep, I do remember that time he fought Nate Diaz. Great. Oh, yep, he knocked out Jose Aldo one time. Great.
So is the guy
Proud
that
of
McGregor is fighting, is he a good fighter?
Yeah, Dustin... See, a lot of people, that's the other thing I hate about Conor McGregor fights. Everyone just buries whoever he's fighting. Dustin Poirier is one of the best guys in the world. This is not going to be an easy fight for Conor. It really depends on which Conor we're going to get. Because we've seen the Conor who fought Khabib, who didn't really train, who wasn't paying attention, who was like drinking a lot, doing the whole Proper 12 thing, like launching that whole company. And then we've seen Conor McGregor of old, Conor McGregor versus Eddie Alvarez. I think people put a little bit too much stock in the Donald Cerrone fight, just because I understand Donald Cerrone's great. I love Donald. He's one of my favorite fighters. But something we know about Donald Cerrone is he gets in his head, especially in these big moments, which this is probably one of the biggest moments of his career, just fighting a guy the magnitude of Conor, especially when he was already such a fan favorite. This was a huge opportunity for him, but he gets in his own head, and he sometimes mentally defeats himself before the fight even gets in. And I think even Donald Cerrone will tell you that, because he's been open and honest about it in past interviews. When he's there and he can get his stuff off, he's one of the most dangerous men in the world. But sometimes he lets himself get into his head. So I don't know how much of Conor just going in and beating him up was him getting into his head like he's come out and said he's done, like we know he does, and how much of it was Conor just being on point that night. I think you really have it could be either way. Conor did look great, but Cerrone could have came out flat because he was in his head. We don't know about that, so I think people are putting a little too much stock into that. He did look great, but we don't know what Cerrone we got.
So the question of the hour, I'm going to ask. I know you just said you don't know who's going to win, but who do I bet on? McGregor's minus 300. Poirier's a plus 230 underdog. Is it worth it to put money on Poirier?
Yes, 100%. I was just about to tell you. I think this would be closer to a pick'em fight, in my opinion.
So you
but
get value with Poirier.
Yeah, I would have thought Poirier would have been the favorite because he's a much more active fighter, fighting against the best guys in the world. He has a win over Justin Gaethje. He lost to Khabib, but everyone loses to Khabib. He has a win over... He's a win over Gaethje. He's a win over... No, yeah, it was Gaethje in that fight. I'm sorry. So, he fights the best guys in the world. That last fight he had against Dan Hooker was a absolute war where both guys were tremendous. And I just think being in there more often than Conor has been in the last 3-4 years is going to be a big advantage for Poirier at the very least.
All right, I got a question as a casual fan. Just obviously, like you said, when McGregor fights, it brings in more people like myself who aren't diehard MMA fans. Who's another fight on this card that you should absolutely tune into?
Oh, it's the co-main event. This card isn't actually as well. I'm setting it up. Chill
Slow your roll.
So yeah, the co-main event. This card is actually a lot weaker than most Conor McGregor cards, but the co-main event is an absolute banger. It is Michael Chandler. his debut in the UFC. Michael Chandler has, for the longest time, been pretty much known as the number one lightweight outside of the UFC. He's made Bellator his stomping ground a little bit. He made Bellator his stomping ground a little bit. Well, not a little bit, his whole career. But he's beaten guys like the Pitbull brothers. He's also lost to them, but, we'll get there. He's beaten and lost to Eddie Alvarez. He's fought some of the best, highest competition in the world, has always looked like an absolute killer, and deserved to be in the UFC a long time ago. He just kind of stuck out where he had the most money and the most, he was the guy at Bellator, where I 100% understand why he did that. So he's making his debut, and he has a very, very, very tough get for your UFC debut in Dan Hooker. Again, one of the other best guys in the world. I just talked about his last fight with Dustin Poirier, the headliner on this card. He lost that fight, but it was one of those fights that it did not matter who won or who lost that fight. Everyone is keeping their same stock after that fight. It was just an absolute masterclass from both sides, but there just had to be a winner and a loser. I would probably say, out of all the fights he could have gotten coming in, except for maybe like a Khabib fight, this is probably, except for maybe like Justin Gaethje right now, I'd probably say this is the hardest fight for Michael Chandler coming in for his UFC debut. But if we're gonna do it, let's fucking do it.
Go big or go home.
UFC. Yeah, the UFC is win-win here, because either A, Michael Chandler comes in, wins the fight, looks impressive, and becomes another star for them, or they bring him up against Dan Hooker, who's not even in the top conversations for a title shot or the title guy, and he just dominates Michael Chandler. Then they can put a stamp on it. Hey, we're the best MMA organization in the world, and you're not stopping us. So it's kind of a win-win for them. They either get a star, or they prove that their product is just that much better than Bellator's product.
So I'm going to ask, who do I bet
This
on?
one's...
The odds are even for Michael Chandler, but Dan Hooker is a minus 130 favorite. That's as close as a pick'em as we're going to get.
Yeah, I would say this is a very, very hard fight for me. Michael Chandler's getting a little older. Dan Hooker looked great. Has been looking great coming up in this. It's that class. It's hard for me because when Michael Chandler's on, he's on. It was sad. I got this shirt at the pay-per-view they had in at Madison Square Garden, and he lost his title that night because he got kicked in the leg where it deadened the nerve in his leg, so his just foot went flat. But then he came back and beat the shit out of the guy to get the title back, but then lost it again to one of the Pitbull brothers. I don't know, man.
Sounds like you're kind of saying you should stay away from this fight.
Yeah, I would stay away from this betting altogether. If I had to pick one,
we could just fade the fight and don't have to bet on it.
definitely don't bet on this one. I'm just throwing that one out there right now. My heart is saying Michael Chandler. My head's saying Dan Hooker.
Oh, so it's real 50-50.
If that makes sense.
Yep.
The internal battle.
It really is.
All right.
But yeah, other than that, like I said, this is not as exciting of a card as you usually get with Conor McGregor, but it's also Conor McGregor headlining a card without any championship. UFC does not do main events on pay-per-views without a championship involved. So I think that might be a little bit why it's not quite as stacked.
That also's got to play so much into Conor's ego to know that they're going to actually make a pay-per-view without a title just for him.
Oh yeah, the closest thing they've done to this in the last 20 years is the BMF title, but they made a title to headline that. Even though it wasn't an actual title, they still made a title to headline that just because it was such a big fight. But yeah, only McGregor could do this. They tried to fight against it before, and like when he tried to come back, or I guess the last time was actually his last fight too, against Cerrone, because that wasn't for a title. Now that I think about it, either way, McGregor's the only guy who can do the pay-per-view without a title being involved. But yeah, it still should be a fantastic fight.
There we have it.
Good to know.
Got
Learned a
some
little something.
All right,
Wednesday night fights, McGregor on Saturday.
it's a great week for me. I can tell you that much.
Then we got the championships on Sunday. Should be a fun time.
Oh yeah.
Hopefully, all your pockets are fatter by the next time we record.
Hell yeah.
All right, boys, but I think that's it for us. You got anything else we're trying to cover?
Well, just want to say shout out to the man, Steve Cohen, the new owner of the Mets. As Uncle Richie told us, he's the owner. Jerry Porter, GM of the Mets, didn't make it the whole offseason. He was, it turns out he sent 62 unanswered text messages to a reporter and then decided to pull the Brett Favre and just send her pictures of his penis. Fellas, it's 2021. We're not sending unsolicited dick pics to anyone. Ever.
Don't send dick pics.
If a girl doesn't answer your first 62 messages, stop.
If she
Yeah,
doesn't answer
maybe
your
like
if she doesn't answer your first 10, stop.
if she doesn't answer the first like 2, chill out. Like,
It came
like
up that
learn
apparently
to handle rejection, my guy. Like,
apparently this guy, Jared Porter, and the reporter met each other just once at Yankee Stadium. They just shared an elevator. He was involved with the Cubs organization. The Cubs didn't see it as much of an issue. Steve Cohen, the man, as Uncle Richie put, Steve Cohen said, we're not allowing that. And so he got fired before the Mets actually took the field this season. So, again, my Mets are winning the World Series. I'm so happy about it. Change of culture. That's all I got.
Yeah, I gotta say, like, good job by the Mets. This ain't, your Uncle Richie's Mets. These are brand new Mets that aren't going to stand up for this shit. I think news broke last night that, the text and this unsolicited dick pic came out, and by this morning, bye, see you later. Here's the door. Here's your pink slip. Get a new job somewhere else.
making all these big moves, and shit's got to go down over a fucking dick pic.
Yep.
Classic.
My guy. This is very a classic Mets move.
Yeah.
But the fact that they actually handled it and got him out of there immediately.
Yeah, that's big.
That's
not
not
something the Mets normally do.
Right.
Yeah. Shows the change of the guard. 2021, no dick pics. We got Lindor, no dick pics. All right, boys.
I think that's it for us.
Yep.
So I am Chris Gray. We got Devin Mitchell somewhere. Eric Minter in the other one. See ya.
Deuces.
Stay positive, test negative.
Welcome to the basement.